Ed Jam is a friend of Kevin J Johnston, and a friend of Kevin is a friend of mine. Ed, I am speaking to you for the first time. How are you doing? We've been Facebook friends for a while, but we've only spoken until now.
Actually, we've spoken on YouTube. Can I bring up Dairy Cartel thing first?
Oh yeah, you're for the well, you're against you're against supply management, and so yeah, go ahead, bring it up.
But okay, so I'm against supply management, and you're for it. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Is it just about cheese and eggs?
Well, here's the thing. I it's not that I'm necessarily for it. I do believe there should be reforms, but my thing is that if we're going to have free trade with any country, especially a country as large as the United States, it has to be done in a way where there's fairness because I believe in fair trade. And I believe that protectionism should not be a curse word. I mean, I think any leader of a nation who has any integrity should be protecting our economy first. So it's not that I'm against America selling milk and cheese and all their other stuff in our country, but if they do it, they have to have their economy set to a way which it benefits workers. I mean, the way we do. That's just all I'm saying, just so that we don't get swamped. Where, as Ross Perot said, we hear a giant sucking sound going south of the border. But we can agree to disagree on that point. But other than that, we agree on almost everything else.
No, I think we agree on everything pretty much. That just about nails it down. Because again, it's fair trade, not and free trade.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And I encourage competition, innovation, and that's something Canadians were actually known for back in the 50s, 60s. We had the fastest jet in the world, the Aero that got canceled.
Yeah, we don't
Remember?
build anything in this country anymore. That's of awe importance. I mean, anything that we do in this day and age, we do it pretty much at the assistance of the Americans or the Europeans, which irritates me.
And at one point, we were actually leaders. We had the best education, we had the best engineers, and we did have the best engineers. When the Aero got canceled, look at all the engineers went down and actually helped form NASA, put the
Yeah.
men on the moon, all that kind of stuff, right?
And pretty much we have something called the Canadian Space Agency. That's pretty much just a subsidiary of NASA. I mean, it's no European Space Agency or Chinese Space Agency. I mean, really, all we do is pretty much everything we do is pretty much subsidiarized, if that's a word, by the Americans, which I'm not trying to hate on Americans, but I think that we need to also be a country as well.
I'm proud to be Canadian. I think you are too. And we have done some awesome things in this country in the past.
Yeah.
And actually, what we're going to get into tonight with what's happened to Kevin J. Johnson is where we're at now.
Well, yeah, it seems that the people who are running the system now are threatened by people who call them out. And unfortunately, Kevin J. Johnston is, I mean, I would call him a political prisoner, would you? I mean, he's on lockdown right now, supermax, chained up in a dungeon somewhere because he dared to question a lawyer who was, I mean, I'm not really, you are more knowledgeable on this than I am, and that's why I have you on. First of all, I want you to, because I can describe what this video was that's put him in jail. He's in jail because the law says he harassed this lawyer. And we'll get into what the lawyer is involved in, but the lawyer apparently goes to the same grocery store as Kevin. And Kevin saw, yeah,
Correction, it's Crown Prosecutor, who is also a lawyer. He
okay.
is the Crown Prosecutor on the hate speech charge from 2017.
Crown prosecutor, okay. So the
Well, I
Crown,
for the audience.
right,
Sorry.
okay, yeah, so we got to be very factual here because this is a very dicey situation. Next thing they go lock us up. Now, the Crown prosecutor, he saw him come out of the store, right? And Kevin whips out his camera. He does a little introduction on what he's about to do. And then he walks over to the Crown prosecutor and says, hey, when he blah, 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 this, that, and the third. I've seen the video. I can't remember what he asked him. But I do remember the lawyer. He wasn't vulgar. He didn't speak vulgar to him, curse at him, or anything. The Crown prosecutor said, "You're making a big mistake. You need to talk to your lawyer." And Kevin said, "Okay, whatever." And then Kevin left him be. He did show his license tags, which I don't think he should have done, but I don't think it warrants going to prison. And then Kevin J Johnston walks away and starts talking about what he's going through in the legal process and Bonnie Crombie and what's happening to Canada and all this stuff. And for that, they call it harassment. Now, for the audience, I mean, we have seen many clips of Rebel News. We've seen mainstream media do the same thing. It's called, when you're in a public space, people remember Rob Ford when they literally stalked his home, and when he came out of his house, they would go on his property and ask him questions. That's what Kevin was. In fact, Kevin was a lot more mild, and for that, he's being harassed. Well, I think if that's harassment, then all of those mainstream media people should be in jail. It's really, really disgusting. I think the only reason they're doing it is because of Kevin. Now, I will get into what he is going through, but I want you to tell me, Ed, is Kevin, how long is Kevin going to be locked down for? Do you know?
Minimum, and this is an absolute minimum of at least another 2 weeks. So he'll be in jail for a full month.
Okay.
That's if we're successful with the bail review hearing.
Okay.
So now they play these games. So we retained a lawyer for Kevin, and we're going to get into that because lawyers cost money, and Kevin, he's not making money at this, as are you or any of us.
No, we're independent. We're not part of the elite class. We don't get money from the Trudeau government to spout propaganda, government propaganda. So, Uh, um, Now, what are some of the? I mean, I don't know if this is invasion of privacy, but what are some of the? You've spoken to Kevin. I haven't been able to speak with him. Is he holding up okay? Like, what is he going through? Can you just give me some information on how he's doing? Any messages he has to convey to the outside world?
Yeah, I wish I had my notes in front of me. He did give me some notes to pass on to the audience tonight. If memory serves me, he's only been outside once in the last 2 weeks. They've been locked down a lot. He barely gets 4 hours in the yard. And a couple days this week, they didn't get any time, if I'm not mistaken, because there's always issues. And whenever there's an issue, they just lock down the whole facility, and everyone's in the cage or in their cell for the whole day. He's down to, he's complaining about the food. So they give you 6 pieces of bread a day, and he doesn't eat bread because he's trying to get back into shape.
Mm-hmm.
You all know he was fighting cancer last year. So he's changed his diet. So he trades bread for fruit. Hardly gets any veggies, very little protein, so it's mostly carbs.
So they're really he's in their eyes he's a real stomped down criminal then.
Yeah, it's a provincial jail. You're incarcerated. You got no rights. You can make only a couple phone calls a day, and that's if you're nice to the people that are on your block. Apparently, there's a whole bunch of different rules that you and I wouldn't know of unless we've been in jail.
Now, what was it, if you could explain to us, what was it that Kevin was involved with this Crown prosecutor in the first place? If you could clearly give us a summary of what this was about.
Remember back in 2017, Kevin did a few videos, and he was quite upset with the Peel region bringing mini mosques into the Peel regional schools.
Right.
Now, I think he was an altar boy, he had a Christian upbringing. He's admitted to being a cultural Christian, although I don't know if he goes to church that often. He probably rarely goes at all, but he believes in, Christian kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, they took, so I think he got upset. Now I'm speaking on his behalf, so don't quote me on this. I may be wrong. But he got quite upset that they took the Lord's Prayer out of the school. They took out all the prayers out of schools for the longest time. This was going on during the 90s and 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to divide the church, separation of church and state. And now suddenly we've got Friday afternoons where they're bringing mini mosques in, they're bringing in imams to preach to the kids. And the reason being that the kids would skip off school because they'd be going to the mosques on Friday afternoons. So they wanted to keep them in the school so they could finish their afternoon classes.
Right.
That's the story we're told, right?
Right.
Now, I don't know. Have you ever heard of in other Islamic countries where kids pray in school on Fridays? They usually do it after school, don't they?
Usually, yeah. I've heard of that. I'm not really knowledgeable on the Islamic thing, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's an erosion of the Canadian way. Like when you come to this country, you kind of try to blend in.
I have to grab a cord because my computer's dying. I want you to continue explaining to the audience. I'll be right back in like 2 seconds, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, just keep explaining. Yeah. Okay. Show us yours right now.
So, anyways, I was saying, what was it that got Kevin into this situation? So, anyways, he made a couple videos. He stood up in Peel Region up in one of the ward meetings, if I'm not mistaken, and he spoke out against this and the Islamification and bringing Islam into public schools. So there was supposed to be no religion for the longest time, and now suddenly we do have religion in the schools, and it's only Islamic religion. So how is it that 4 to 5% or 6% of the population we're catering to them? It's either there's no religion or you allow all religions. It's one or the other. You can't pick and choose. And as you know, a lot of the people from the Hindu faith were up against it. Some Christian people were up against it. A lot of other, like there's a lot of people who are saying if there's no religion, there's no religion. Why are we making an exception for Islam?
Absolutely.
And for that, he got charged with hate speech. I don't know all the details about it, but this is kind of along the lines that where that first hate speech charge came. And then I think, who was it? That witch that was the premier of Ontario.
Kathleen Wynne.
I really don't care for her. She did so many evil things. She had a pedophile write the curriculum.
Right,
for
the sex ed curriculum, yep.
Yeah, convicted pedophile wrote the curriculum for Ontario schools.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought in all that. And this is also part of the Agenda 21 2030 crap that's coming down from the UN.
Absolutely.
All related.
Yeah. Well, you know, we have on Arana Nation discussed some of the pedophile drama that has circled around Justin the Tacky-Headed Tar-Faced Swiftfoot Mac Daddy Trudeau, Justin Trudeau, that's what I call him. We've talked about the fact that he could have, well, I received sources, very credible sources, that Trudeau had actually paid someone off to not report on a pedophile affair, which if it's an affair with a younger person, it's not an affair, it's rape, but to pay them to not talk about this. And I said that, you know, this guy being the head of the government of this country, and all of this pedophile stuff happening, the pedophile writing the sex ed curriculum, the pedophile out there in BC, Jonathan Yaniv, who, I mean, we won't get too much into that, but, you know, all this stuff is happening, and you talk about it, and then you get hammered down. And then it's not just the pedophile stuff, it's also the religious stuff. You know, you talk about the fact that we're supposed to be a non-secular society, but then you've got Islam and others who are able to practice freely, and you point that out, you get stomped down. That's why I admire Quebec's way of doing it. They have Bill 21 where nobody is allowed to show off their religion. Now, I'm a Christian, okay? I think that this country is mostly a Christian nation, or it should be. It used to be. I mean, we used to be tough. I mean, you think America is Christian. America was once a refugee for people who were considered agnostics. We were no joke. And now it's like things are just going in the way opposite direction. I can't believe that that's what they consider hate speech, though. The fact that Kevin J Johnston is talking about the fact that Muslims in public schools are getting special treatment. And that's supposed to be a hate crime.
Yeah, so it's just and then they bring it down Islamophobia.
Yeah.
This is all related. This is a huge thing that's going on. This is not just isolated.
Right.
Kevin is one of those guys that he believes in what he believes in.
Right.
He's got morals, he's got values, he's got principles, and I think that's why you guys get along so well.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've spoken with Kevin, and I know Kevin. We've spoken privately. He's told me things that nobody else knows, and I'm sure he's done that with you. I will not call him a racist. I refuse to call him. Now, when I first met him, I wouldn't call him a racist, but, I didn't know him. I wanted to give him his trial, as people in the Caribbean like to say. I don't think this guy's a racist. I think Kevin is somebody who has been through a lot, who makes mistakes, can go a bit too far, but I think that he's a passionate individual who loves his country and is very frustrated, and he is very misunderstood. And the people who are going after him, I think these individuals have to look at themselves in the mirror and find the horns up on their head. Because I know Kevin very personally, and he's no racist, he's no wicked person. He does not deserve to be where he is right now.
Okay, let's get into the video. So did we give the people a good description of what happened in that video?
Well, I had said that in the video, this is what I saw, point by point. Now, this is the video. Now, the reason we're not showing this is because Kevin has it taken down, and I'm guessing he wants it to stay taken down until at least he's out, right?
Right now, we want to get him out as fast as we can. I'm sure he'd love to show it, but if there's any inkling, I don't want to give the Crown or the courts any ammunition to use against him.
Right. Well,
and we'll get into this later.
Yeah.
What happened at the bail hearing?
Absolutely. I want you to talk about that bail hearing, but let me just get back again to what the video was. And remember, guys, this is a video that the law is saying is the reason why he is in jail right now. So in the beginning, there's Kevin, and he's talking about what he is about to do. And it's funny because he talked for a good 30 seconds after he went to go ask this guy questions, which is just surprising. If this Crown attorney or Crown prosecutor did not want to be on camera, I mean, why was he? I don't know. But anyway, he was talking about what he was about to do. He's like, I just ran into this guy. He goes to the same supermarket as me, and then he walks up to him. The Crown prosecutor was putting groceries in his truck, and he asks him a question. I can't remember what the question was, but it wasn't vulgar. There was no curse words. He basically is asking, when are you going to drop this, or what are your next plans? And the Crown prosecutor turns around and says, "You're making a big mistake. I would talk to my lawyer. You should talk to your lawyer, Mr. Johnson." And then Kevin backs up, doesn't say, he just says, okay, I'll talk to my lawyer. And then he shows a picture of his front license tags, which I will admit he shouldn't have done, but it doesn't warrant prison time.
Well, hang on. I don't think he did it on purpose. I think he was just walking away, and he went to switch the camera from forward-facing to back-facing. You point it down, right?
Well, he had said, I remember in the video, he said, here's his license tags.
Okay, so he did intentionally.
Yeah, which I don't think that you should go to prison for that. At minimum, that should be a fine or something. That's definitely not harassment. And I say that's not harassment. I was thinking, okay, maybe Kevin went too far, and maybe he went in the store and followed the guy over. And even that, to be honest with you, isn't all that illegal. Because I've seen people who work for the mainstream media, which the globalists love, and I've seen them do worse with people. Now, he asked this guy one or two questions. The guy said, "You're making a mistake. You should talk to your lawyer." Kevin stopped talking to him, and then he briefly showed the license plate, and then he walked away, and then started talking about what was happening with the courts and how Bonnie Crombie and this Crown prosecutor, I think his last name is Kingston or Kingsman.
No, we're not going to mention his name.
Okay, sorry. Forget that. Okay. But, yeah. You know what, Ed? I'll say this. anything that happens, I will take the heat for it. I'll take the heat for it because this is really, really sad. And I know that you want to tread carefully, and I understand that. And I will. But if anything happens, just so you know, I'm going to take the fall for this because I'm the one that's having you on. This is the Arana Nation, and I feel that this whole thing is ridiculous. I think people are trying to bully. I'm not saying Kevin is perfect, but after the Crown prosecutor said, look, you need to talk to your lawyer, you're making a big mistake, Kevin walked away and started talking about Bonnie and all this other stuff. It was like a 10-20 second interaction between Kevin and this guy. And Kevin was in no way vulgar or rude or anything. It's the same thing that the Rebel does to Jonathan Yaniv and to all these different people. It's the same thing that the mainstream media did to Rob Ford. In fact, what they did to Rob Ford when he was alive and that crack stuff was going on was worse. They were on his property. Rob had to throw them off his property. So I don't understand why Kevin now is in prison or jail, provincial jail, being forced to, eat fruit and not have any daylight. I mean, he's being treated like he's a rapist or something. I think it's ridiculous. This whole thing is ridiculous. And I've always criticized people for leaving Canada and going to the States. But in Kevin's case, I think he should, if he can, get to the States, because if he does, it's very hard for Canada or Bonnie or Ontario or anyone to go after him down there. You wanted to mention something that happened during the bail hearing, right?
Well, yeah. Is this bail here? So I gave him a ride to the police station Friday night because he found out there was a warrant out for his arrest. And Sunday night I gave him a ride, right? So I took him in and he says, okay, I'll give you a ride. No, stick around because he found out that it had something to do with that video. He says, well, I didn't do anything wrong. He says, okay, I'll wait around for an hour and a half. And if they're going to keep you in, then hopefully the policeman will be nice enough to tell me that they're keeping you in. But he says, no. He says, what are they going to keep me in for?
Right.
So an hour and a half later, it's like 2 a.m, the policeman says, no, you can go home. He's staying in custody. We have arrested him, and his bail hearing is tomorrow. I said, great. So I went home, made a few phone calls, let a few of his closest friends and followers know what's going on. He goes into court Monday. Because the Crown prosecutor works in the court in the Brampton courthouse, everyone knows him. At least they were nice enough to bring in an outside Crown prosecutor and an outside judge. A JP, not a judge, a JP.
And JP stands for the judicially uneducated.
Basically, if you know a little bit about the law, you can apply. I don't know the process, but you don't have to be very learned to be a JP. You don't have to be a lawyer or anything. I've heard of school teachers becoming JPs.
Oh, okay.
So but anyways, it is the law. It is the Crown, right?
Right.
It is the judge.
Right.
They're going to rule on this. So Tuesday showed up, and then they start hearing about the Crown. What the Crown starts coming up, and they're bringing up all the stuff from 2017, from the original hate charge.
Right.
This goes back to Kevin standing up in the Peel region in the chambers, and because he offered a reward for if there's anyone can videotape some of the prayers that are going on, because he had suspicions that what they're praying is like death to the infidels or what have you, right?
Right.
So he's trying to look for positive evidence of that. Unfortunately, he never got any. But just the fact that he put that, they didn't like the fact that he was fishing, trying to get this evidence, because people don't want to speak up against Islam.
Right.
And then he also had some views where he was quite specific of what some specific Islamists do in Islamist countries. And it is rather alarming, and it is coming here. And it is here. And it's even worse in the UK, but you don't hear about this in the mainstream media.
Well, not only do you not hear about it, you don't hear about why it's happening. I mean, I won't get into this is about Kevin right now, But yeah, it's a big, big mess, and the world is in a big mess. You've got, first of all, a lot of people from the Middle East who have all of a sudden started migrating west. And I would blame that on international wars and all this sort of stuff. And you certainly can't talk about that. And you can't talk about the fact that a lot of the people that come here as refugees or illegally or even legally have different agendas, and it's really, really awkward what is happening in. I mean, I would even subtract America out of all of this, Europe and Canada. I mean, somebody is literally in jail for something that the mainstream media does all the time. Ed, when they called Kevin, because they called him to let them know that he needs to surrender himself to be put in jail. I'm guessing because they trust him, the police. I don't know. Did they give him any hint or tell him what he was being arrested for on the phone?
Michael, I wasn't there, so I can't speak to it.
Okay.
But it sounded like it was, from what I heard from Kevin, it says it looks like it could be serious. And Kevin always turns himself in. He wasn't living at home at the time. It's been quite hard on his family, all this nonsense, all this lawfare, and all the court cases, and all the kangaroo courts that have come after him and nailed him. $2.5 million, no trial.
Right.
Where's the justice? Tell me.
Well, I know that before he was arrested, he did give me a ring. He called me, and he told me that he was being arrested, and he wanted me to let my followers know, because most of my followers are his followers as well. I actually credit Kevin for a lot of the Arana Nation's success. And I asked him, Kevin, did they tell you? Like, I asked him what he was being arrested for. He said he didn't know, and I said, well, did they not tell you? And he guessed that it was this issue that we're talking about now with the Crown prosecutor. And I just said to myself, how is it that we're living in a country where the police ask you to come to prison or to jail, and they're not even clearly demonstrating to you what you're being arrested for, what you're surrendering your freedom for? I mean, that's just bonkers to me, but I don't know. I guess this is Canada.
Soviet Canada, Michael. Let's be crystal clear with our viewers.
Yeah.
Let's be accurate. It's Soviet Canada.
Yeah. Well, the Soviet Union. I mean, I'll tell you one thing about the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union would take you out of your misery. They wouldn't drag this on. They'd just put a bullet through your head. You know, it seems like in Trudeau's Canada, they're willing to tear your family apart, drag you through the mud, do all sorts of stuff. In fact, I would say at least the Soviet Union held everyone to the same standards. Here in Canada, you have the media, which can get away with doing certain things. And then Kevin, who does a lot less than what they do, he gets thrown in prison. What do you have to say?
You're saying media. Let's be accurate. Is it really media or is it propaganda?
Well, yeah, I mean, when the government gives, I mean, didn't the government gave a bailout to the media conglomerates, and and I do say conglomerates. It's pretty much an oligopoly. You've got the Rogers and the Thompsons and Bell and Shaw, and that's pretty much it. And then the rest of them are just dung eaters, And the Mac Daddy's government, Trudeau. Anytime I say Mac Daddy, just assume I'm speaking about Trudeau. His government gave a bailout to that so-called bailout. I don't know what they need a bailout for. CBC is already a crown corporation. And the only reason why he could be doing that, the only reason why government would ever give media money would be so that they could be on their side. And they've done a very good job of it. So yeah, I couldn't call it media. I wouldn't call it media. It's just one big private propaganda oligopoly. That's all it is. And now the government wants to have people have license in order to call themselves media. Maybe that's why Kevin is in jail.
they can't have people speaking the truth or being critical of them.
Yeah.
And because it's not going to fly. They've got a narrative. They've been, let's face it, even I was brainwashed till I woke up. And even when I was starting to wake up, I was really questioning, like, it's ingrained in us that you trust the media. The media would never lie. They have ethics. They have standards. They're supposed to look at all sides. Like, this is what I was taught in school. I'm 56 now. You were probably under the same impression up till probably a few years ago, were you not?
Well, back in my day, they used to do that, you know. Believe it or not, I mean, people have criticized the media for a long time. But I'll be honest with you, I'm a very big YouTube watcher. I like to watch historical things, and sometimes I run across, like, historical news broadcasts and stuff. Back in the day, back in the 90s, like CNN, for example, in the 90s, CNN was a very good channel. It was a channel where you would hear the side of the Pat Buchanans of the world, of the Bernie Sanders of the world, of even people like David Duke would be able to go on CNN. I mean, CNN had everybody. And now it's just, wow. CBC, even they, to a certain extent, weren't all that bad, but something has happened at the turn of the century around 2000, where I don't know if it's because of, I think this happened sometime around when Obama became president, where the media just started hating on anybody who didn't lock, stock, and barrel sign up to this their left-wing globalist agenda. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. I think City TV, which City News, I don't know if all Canadians get City News. I think they're worse than CBC. I mean, I hear the way they talk about Doug Ford. I hear the way they talk. I mean, these guys have blood coming out of their mouths. The way they talk about Donald Trump in America on CNN and on MSNBC, this is not news. But I have to get back to Canada because the fact is that we have a media which is literally indebted to the government now because they were given millions of dollars in so-called bailout money. And now the government is trying to have people get licenses so that they can in order to call themselves media. And it's funny, you know what I've noticed? It's almost like Kevin is like the guinea pig. Kevin was one of the people who got arrested under M103. And that's how I first heard about him. You know, Kevin is the one who's being arrested for trying to act the way the media acts. Is it because he doesn't have a media license? I mean, what is this?
Well, didn't Kevin, one time, didn't he own a small newspaper in Mississauga or something?
Mississauga Gazette. Yeah, he owned the Mississauga Gazette, and I don't know what happened to that, but I'm sure it was popular because Kevin is pretty popular. Kevin had a lot of subscribers on his very first YouTube channel, and now because YouTube keeps taking down his thing, and they're another one. They go after everybody. But ever since they kept taking down his channel, I guess subscribers just felt, we can't keep subscribing, and it's like they give it up. And so now it doesn't look like he has a lot of people supporting him, but he's very popular, and I don't know what they did with that Mississauga Gazette.
Well, look at all the platforming. At one time, he had 3 or 4 Kevin J Johnstons or different Kevin J Johnston 300 or on Facebook because you're only limited to 5,000 friends, right? He had 3 of them going, right?
Right.
YouTube channels kept getting taken down. He'd have 10,000, 15, 20,000 subscribers.
Definitely.
These are huge numbers.
Oh, yeah. I've told you this. I have 16,000 subscribers now. I would say that I've been on YouTube for I started in 2011, so that's what, 10, 12, 13, yeah, like 8, 9 years now, 10 years going on. I would say there were a couple of times where I saw a real boost in numbers. The first time was during the 2015 election when Justin Ataki and Matt Day was really starting to come on the stage, and I criticized them hard. The second time was when I met Kevin, and Kevin helped me out. Kevin helped me out He came on my show. I went on his show. I got a lot of his people come on, and the third time was that terrorist attack in Toronto, and then of course the fourth time was when I started talking about. I don't know if you've seen any of my videos where I go after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, but those are the four times when my channel really went up in viewership and ratings and all that stuff. So I am indebted to Kevin, and I don't apologize to it. He is an amazing person. He's no racist. I know him very well. I'd consider him an uncle. And even if I didn't know him, even if he was a stomped down leftist, I don't think he deserves to be in jail. I really don't deserve. If someone did that to me in the parking lot, the first thing I would do would be to roll my eyes and say, there the media goes again. I wouldn't call police. I wouldn't think to call the police because I wouldn't think the police would do anything because I've seen media do that before. Now, if they came into my car and sat in the passenger seat and started interviewing me, and yeah, then I don't call police, but then that's a different story. But what you showed me, and I wish we could show it. When Kevin comes out, I hope that he gives us the right to put this video out there. It's the same thing with that video that got him to have to pay $2.5 million. The one who Paramount Foods. That video, there was an underground group which put that video out. And people watched it and they said, this video is harassment? I mean, we've seen this happen all the time. I interviewed him on it.
You got to understand one thing, Michael. You look who's gotten into politics and who's gotten into the government. And a lot of these people, I'm going out on a limb here, but some of them are related to or they have ties to the Muslim Brotherhood.
But you know what, though? It's not just the Muslim Brotherhood. It's not just the Muslim Brotherhood. It's the United Nations. It's the globalists. It's people who are indebted to a lot of even Zionists. I know a lot of people don't like it when I mention Zionists, but, it's even them. It's a lot of different people who have interests in changing our civilization to one that we're not going to like very much. These are the people who are in control. And this country, Canada, well, I shouldn't say this because I'm actually out of the country right now. But Canada, Maple Leaf, this beautiful flag here, this beautiful country here, right now we've turned into, we're a guinea pig now of the globalist cartel, the United Nations, the banksters, George Soros, all these people. We are a guinea pig, and that's what they're trying to do to us. All their wicked and evil plans, they make sure that they come into effect in Canada first. I've seen it because I've seen things happen in Canada, then all of a sudden, a year later, you hear about it happening in France or in UK or in Germany they try to do it in America. It's ridiculous. I know that you've got a lot to do, but is there any? I do want to mention one thing. It's clear that Kevin is going to need a lot of assistance when he comes out of the predicament that he's in. And one thing we're going to need to do is donate. And Ed, do you know the website that people can go to donate to Kevin?
Yeah, he's got a website, his own website, and it's kevinjjohnston.ca. And you can tip $1, $2, $3, $5, $10, $20, whatever. Right. I know times are tough. Yeah. But you know what, people? There's a few of us that'll stand up, and Kevin's one of them, not me. But he's one of the people who stand up and speak truth to the matter. He likes to bring all sides of the issues, and if he sees something that's doesn't align with traditional Canadian values, you can expect him to speak up.
Absolutely.
And look how they're coming after him, and they're throwing lawfare at him. Look what they did to Faith Goldie.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah,
I think she's spending close to $100,000 in legal fees, and she's getting wiped out.
Yeah.
And then she reposts she reposted some comment or something of another person that someone else made. They didn't go after that person. They came after her for reposting it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. The system is threatened, Ed. They're threatened because they see that the stuff that are happening outside, Canada's not immune to it. Faith Goldie came in third place in Toronto. Kevin J Johnston came in second place in
Well,
Mississauga, the mayoral
hang on.
elections.
Remember when the election results were coming in? They had problems with the voting machines. There were problems with the lights. Doors were locked. There's so many voting irregularities.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah.
As the results came in, like 100,000
And this is Mississauga you're talking about,
or
right?
another 10 polls would report. Yeah, from Mississauga. Another 10 polls would report. So this took, 3-4 hours to come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was always 13.4% of the vote. Always 13.4%. Mathematically, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Tell me
I
those
didn't even know
votes
that.
are tampering.
I didn't
Tell
even,
me.
yeah. I didn't even know that. I think Mississauga is one of those towns that are completely wrapped around the knuckles. It's very hard to get anywhere in Mississauga. I mean, you had this one lady, Hazel McKelly, and she's all right. She's 99 years old. She was mayor almost all her life. I mean, you don't hear about things like that. I mean, she was mayor from the 70s all the way up until the 21st century, and then now Bonnie Crombie, who is her Meiji Domo, is taking her place. So it's like almost half a century where one ideology has been in control in Mississauga. So I think it's one of those. That's why I when I see Kevin trying to, as they say, take back his city, it's. I mean, I applaud him for it, but I mean, Mississauga, I think, is one of those towns which it's being held hostage, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's any electoral fraud going on over there. Because how can one person be? I don't know. It's like I think Bonnie's trying to become another Hazel. She's going to stay in there until she's 100 years old, and that's going to be a long way away.
If she can, and let's not forget who wasn't it her husband that's wanted in the States for some kind of bio veil or some kind of bio company or.
I haven't heard of that. Knowing Bonnie, I don't want to even get into that because,
some kind of huge scandal. He's a CEO or something, and that's never brought up. And the fact that she's had charges from Norm Travesty and other monkey business going on, you won't hear about that in the mainstream media either, will you?
No, you won't. No,
so
you won't.
Try telling me there's not a dictatorial elite in this country.
Oh no, there is, and there are many municipalities and areas in this country where it's like a machine. You know, the machine is very strong, and machine politics is real. It is real. It happened in Chicago in the '60s, and it's happening now. Machine politics, big city machine politics, is very real, and it's happening in Canada. But it's Kevin J Johnston with a T, I believe. That right? With the T, Johnston, KevinJJohnston.ca. And that's where you can donate to him. If you want to donate $1, you can. 100, you can. I mean, yeah, times are tough, but you know what? There comes a time in life where the investment that you make will make or break you. And this is one of those times. You will really, really thank yourself for investing in Kevin, because he's standing up for you. And the more people who are on his side, the more we can stand up to the system. Any last words you want to say, Ed?
Well, how about the bail review? When he went up for bail, I put myself up as a surety for him, right?
Right.
And I was literally grilled in that box. You got to swear yourself in and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the Crown prosecutor, it's almost like she wanted to rip my eyes out or something. I couldn't believe how vicious this lady was with me, and the questions, and the tone of voice, and the insinuation, and things like, well, how do you know Kevin? And I told her, and how long have you known him, and living arrangements, told him, and what are you guys going to do? And somehow I says, well, what have you worked on? I says, well, me and Kevin, sometimes we work together on projects. Sometimes he helps me on things, and sometimes I help him out. I never got into specifics because, as you know, I've done camera work for Kevin, right? On many occasions.
Mm-hmm.
You ever look at those high-angle views? That's me with up 6'3", and so I've got about almost 8 feet of reach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when there's people trying to block the camera, that's me up there shaking it for him.
Oh, okay.
He's trying to get the interview.
Right, right.
And that's why you get those high-angle shots, because they don't want the tough questions to be asked of politicians or other people.
Right.
So the narrative's got to be followed. So anyways, I was really offended by the questions they were asking. Judge goes out, breaks for lunch, we come back, and to paraphrase, the judge said Kevin is a threat to society. You believe that?
Well, he's a threat to the globalist society. He's a threat to the system which is out to enslave us. He's correct on that. When it comes to the people, he's no threat. But when it comes to the people who want to hurt us, you better believe it. He's coming for you.
So, and you look at what they've done to, these people, they got lots of money. The court system, they make money when they put these people behind bars. They run them through the system. The judges are making money. The lawyers are making money. The crown prosecutors are making money. The guards, the policemen, the people that cater the jails, the people that do the washing for the jails, they're all making money off this. The only one that loses is the people that speak the truth.
Right. And you know, I say that, but see, here's the thing. Kevin has always worked within the law, and he's very sensitive about that. He always says, you know, I'll always do what the police tell me to do. If they tell me this, you know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I say that, you know, I say, oh, he's a threat to the globalists and everything, and the people who want to hurt him and us and everything. But, I mean, going back to that video, Kevin was mild. I mean, Kevin could have continued grilling him right there because the Crown prosecutor didn't necessarily go in his truck. Kevin left him to continue putting things in his truck. Kevin approached him while he was putting groceries in his truck, asked him one or two questions. The Crown prosecutor says, you're making a big mistake and you should get in touch with your lawyer. And Kevin walks away, shows the tags, and leaves. I mean, so Kevin works within the law. I mean, Kevin is mild compared to, I mean, me. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't understand. I think that they are just threatened by him because he's so successful. And I think maybe ever since he got so close, I mean, it was a distant second, even though, as you said, there was a lot of electoral monkey business that was going on. But ever since then, the system in Mississauga knows how clever Kevin can be. I mean, next few years, Kevin could literally be these people's boss, sitting in the mayor's office, smoking a big cigar with a big Mayoral sash over him, and they're going to be forced to call him your worship. So before that happens, they're going to do everything they can to tear him up. That's what I think is going on.
Yeah, that's what's going on. So you look for that. You've seen the video. You've seen how nobody was really harmed. Right?
No. Not even verbally, not emotionally, not physically, nothing.
Was that person? Was that Crown? Was he threatened at all?
No, he wasn't. His path wasn't blocked. I didn't see anything. It was typical. Hey, how are you? Go away. Okay, bye.
Okay, so for that he gets a month of hard time.
Yeah.
Now, if I can, on a personal note, June. I think it was June 20th or 21st. Last summer, gone by, we were at a Pegida rally.
Mm-hmm.
And myself, we left the rally, and the police, they kind of did their job. They kept the two sides apart. Now, you got the people, like you got patriots, mostly older Canadians. Most of the people, I'd say, are anywhere from their 30s up to their 60s, even some people in the 70s. But mostly we're boomers that are there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all we're trying to do is speak up about how bad radical Islam can be and bring attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
Leave the rally. You had 200 Antifa and communist supporters worked up in a tizzy. And I don't know what these people are on, but I suspect they're eating Adderall and a slow delayed Adderall. But these people are nuts.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to attack us. We're 3 blocks away from where the protest was. They're stalking us on the streets. This is clearly criminal harassment. Jack Reynolds, he was at the back of the group because we kind of got spread out along Dundas Street over 2 blocks, and there's construction going on. Anyways, I seen Jack was hanging back, so I went to, give Jack a hand because I'm a little bit stronger than he is. A lot stronger, actually. So anyways, we're walking back to the subway to leave the event, and out of the blue, I get kicked in the back. Now, we got this on video, so I got knocked to the ground by Antifa. A running kick to the back. I get up, I look around, I see Jack, and there's about 10 guys, Antifas, hooded, all dressed in black. They're punching the hell out of this guy. And I just run over there, and I start grabbing these guys, because they're out to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
I start ripping these guys off of Jack. Next thing I know, I got another dozen Antifa pounding me out, and I'm still ripping these guys off of Jack, getting shots. They're trying to beat the shit out of me, and they're doing a good job of it, too. But they're kids, it's like love taps. And your adrenaline starts going.
Oh, I felt those love taps before. Those little don't even do anything. In fact, it feels good.
It hurts the next day, but whatever.
The next day, yeah, but whatever.
Had this happened 30 years ago, those guys would all have broken necks. I would have just grabbed them, because I'm not a fighter. I don't believe in fighting. But my buddy Jack is on the ground, and he's not in good shape. 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out he got bricked in the head. That's how they got him to the ground, and they're beating the shit out of him.
Mm-hmm.
So and there's cops within 20, 30 feet just watching this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it wasn't until more Antifa got on us, then the cops came.
So it's okay to go after middle-aged individuals, older to middle-aged individuals, and attack them, kick them, with the police watching.
And not just one police, many police.
Many of them.
We went the next day and we tried to file charges.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't hear anything. We weren't hearing anything back. No one's getting charged. Nothing's going on, right? I kept calling Jack. This is Jack. It was attempted murder. They got to charge somebody, right?
Yes.
Video cameras on Dundas Street every 20 feet in front of every store. There's so much more video evidence to be gotten. And we even gave them some of our video evidence.
Right.
Somebody else managed to get it, right?
Right.
2.5 months later, they said it's a civil matter. We don't get involved in civil matters. So attempted murder...
It's something they don't get involved in.
Right.
Yeah, they don't get involved in that, which is assault, battery, I would say. But a guy who is asking a question is in jail right now.
Gets a month, yeah.
Yeah, a month in jail. Yeah. Month of his freedom taken away, and they don't even bother to tell him beforehand. That is what we're up against right now.
So if anyone thinks the system isn't rigged or we're not living in Soviet Canada, I got news for you guys. We're just about there. Look at all the protesters. They're getting a free ride.
Yeah.
Court functions? No, stay there. You can protest because it suits the globalist agenda 2021, 2030. We're going to crash the economy here. The people with lots of money are going to buy up all the resources, 10 cents on the dollar, maybe 5 cents on the dollar. You and I, regular Canadians, we're going to be the serfs to the communists that are taking over our country.
Absolutely. Well, I call them globalists. The communists, I think communism is, what's the word I'm looking for? These people are naive. It's bad. It's violent in many cases, but I think they're not. The globalists, though, these are individuals who have a class system, which communism is supposed to be against, where you've got the 1%, and when I say 1%, I'm not talking about people who work hard and make it to the top. I'm talking about multi-global corporations, politicians who get rich in their job, all this stuff. They're on the top, and then we are on the bottom. And then people who try to fight the system are even more on the bottom. We're in the dirt, having our face wiped in the mud, being kicked in our teeth. That's the system we have. It's feudalism, and it's wrong.
And my parents came from a former communist country. I see what's happening here
Yeah.
because I've been to communist countries. I've been to Cuba. Off the resorts, I see how people live, what they can and can't say.
Yeah.
Try to have discussions with people. It's like they're looking around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last time I was in Cuba, we got a bus back from the resort. I said, and they're telling us a little bit about the history about the revolution. I said, put up my hand and says, excuse me, how many people did Che Guevara personally kill himself? And how many did Fidel kill himself?
Right.
The guy says, oh no, nobody was hurt. He says, really?
Yeah.
So you can't, has anyone counted? Was it in the thousands? Was it in the millions of people that got killed?
The communism that we are facing right now is modern Chinese communism right now. Modern Chinese communism, which is really not communism, and I'm not a fan of either communism, but this is a type of system where we've got the elites and then we've got everyone else, and don't you dare try to mess that system up. That's what we're going through right now. It's the new world order, what we're going through, and they're trying to bring this whole thing global. That's the plan. Agenda 21, as you mentioned.
Yeah, Agenda 2030. It's neo-fascism.
Yeah, that's a better word, I would say. Neo-fascism, global fascism. Yeah,
and that's what's coming up, and that's why nobody likes Trump down in the States, at least the mainstream media, because who owns those companies? The rich and the elite.
Mm-hmm. And they're all singing to the same tune.
Speaking up against it. It's like kicking the bear.
Absolutely.
But people don't get upset. Final note, I just got to put in a plug for the Myth is Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Canada is not really a country. If you look, we've been scammed. And even at my age, I didn't realize this until a few years ago, until Doug Force brought it up. They've hidden the history so well. Canada has not been a country since December 11th, 1931, when the Statute of Westminster ended. We've been scammed ever since. There's so many frauds in our political history. Books like Hope Canada, that get taken out of publication. There was actually a Frenchman that actually found it. He found it in the library, and then he actually went to buy copies in New York City. He went to order more, and the plates got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is all factual stuff. Our history, we don't know it. We don't even know that we don't know the truth.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a way that we can beat this, and all people of all political stripes, except the hardcore communists. I don't want them in this country, to be honest. We don't need them. We don't need them here. But whatever, maybe they'll figure out, yeah, there is a better way to live.
They're naive, and the communism is a system created. Well, it was created by people who don't really want communism, but the people who have lapped it up, the Castros of the world and the Kims of the world, these people are all naive. The African socialists of the world, they're all completely naive. We won't get into it, but this was a system to make sure that people did not break out of their serfdom. And thankfully, we have, countries that did not subscribe to it. But they're trying to go at us a different way now. And in Europe, they've got the EU, Canada, we see what's going on. It's just all methods which look like candy but taste like poison.
Look at South Africa. Look what happened in Venezuela. Third highest standard of living in the world 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now they're eating their neighbors' dogs. Yeah. This is a good thing.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about Venezuela and all these other countries. I think that they need to figure out their problems on their own. I don't think we should intervene. I don't think we should get involved, because if we get involved, we make the situation worse. I mean, we went involved in the Middle East, and the Middle East is even worse than ever. So they need to figure out their issues on their own and realize, which they will, that the system that they're living under is completely flawed. So on that note, anything else you'd like to add, Ed?
Kevin J Johnston.Ca. He needs money for a lawyer. Please.
Absolutely. And I will put the link at the top of the comment section and in the description of this video. There'll be a link. Click on it. If you've got it, just give it. This is an investment that is going to make you, okay? There are investments that break you, which most people like to go through, which is alcohol and don't get me wrong, I love a good drink every now and then, but make an investment in your freedom. Make an investment in spreading truth. Make an investment which will give a big fat middle finger to these globalists and to these people who are after Kevin. Just, if you got it, give it. And on that note, I say, Ed, thank you for coming on this channel. How can people reach you? Do you have a YouTube channel by any chance? Do you do what me and Kevin do?
Well, no, not really. I've been doing some behind-the-scenes work for the Mythos Canada, and I was helping out with the PPC.
Oh, okay.
But I supported Kevin. I tried to, that was my scissor lift we were using when he was running for mayor. Mm. So I try to stay in the background because I'm self-employed, and yeah, it's taken a hit against me. Because you can find me on antihate.ca. I'm a bigot, racist, whatever, right? I am against communism. I don't believe in socialism. I believe in being responsible for yourself. And if that's against the system, well, hey, I don't believe in taking money out of other people's pockets for my own benefit. I'd rather work for it.
I'd rather give the people their money. I think if we're going to make a society where people are not impoverished, I think we should start by giving them their money back. But that's a story for another time.
Thanks, Michael.
No problem.
KevinJJohnston.ca, please.
No problem, Ed. It was great talking to you, and you take care, okay? And on that note, this is the Arana Nation, and Viva the Revolution. Okay, take care now. Take care. And I'm going to stop this now. How do I do this? Stop.
How'd that go? Did it go well?
I think it did, yeah.
Okay, cool.